In today's Pokemon card market, some cards are going for thousands of dollars while others only cost a couple of pennies. And the interesting thing is that cards that are worth pennies can sometimes transform into super valuable cards within like a couple of weeks. And that's a really interesting part about Pokemon cards. For example, the Magikarp from Paldea Evolve was once worth $50, but a couple months later it increased to $160. And at this exact moment, there's still a lot of grails in the Pokemon card market that no one knows of. So in this video, I'm going to show you my top 10 cards that are incredibly undervalued but have a lot of potential for the near future. By the way, if you're new, welcome. My name is Noah. On this channel we make content about everything around Pokemon cards. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Number 10 on my list is a card that has been released quite a while ago, which features a set called Surging Sparks, which is incredibly undervalued in general in my opinion. But the card that I'm talking about is the Pikachu EX Gold card from Surging Sparks. This Pikachu is one of the most expensive cards from Surging Sparks and is pretty cheap in my opinion because currently the market price is $48. And if you look at the way it has been performing, it's actually pretty interesting because in the past month it has been decreasing with 26%, which you might be thinking, okay, this is a bad sign, I shouldn't buy this card. But to be honest, I see this as an opportunity because I don't think this card is going to decrease a lot more, and because of that it might increase or just stay stable for the next couple of months, but it will probably increase in value in the near future. Now if you take a look at the card itself besides the value, you can see that it's an absolutely beautiful card, at least in my opinion. It features Pikachu, which just a lot of people like, and Surging Sparks is a pretty big set, so it's really difficult to pull these kind of specific gold cards. So because it features a Pokemon a lot of people like, it's a gold card which is really difficult to pull, and the card itself looks really cool. I think this card is an incredible grail. Number 9 on my list is the two most expensive cards from the set Stellar Crown, which is this Squirtle and Bulbasaur illustration rare. And honestly, these cards are pretty popular at the moment, so I wouldn't say it's one of the most undervalued cards, but I think they will become way more expensive in the future because people just really love the starters from Gen 1, and these artworks of these cards are just amazing. Currently the Squirtle is going for $68 and the Bulbasaur is going for $59. Overall, Stellar Crown is not one of the best sets from the TCG, but I still think these cards are pretty undervalued. And I agree, even though they're already going for around $60, I think they will become way more expensive in the near future. Now number 8 on my list features an illustration rare once again of a set that's not really that popular, but the card itself is really undervalued. The Chansey from Twilight Masquerade is an absolutely amazing artwork because it also contains Snorlax, Blissey, Ditto, Psyduck, and Bellsprout. This card has got some attention already because it's currently going for around $28, but compared to other illustration rares of cards that a lot of people like, this card is still pretty cheap. Even if you already compare it to this Bulbasaur that we just talked about, this card is not even the half of the value. Twilight Masquerade by itself is still a pretty cheap set, and to be honest, I think it looks a lot like Lost Origin, because both sets have like one really expensive card, which for Twilight Masquerade is the Greninja and for Lost Origin is the Giratina, of course, and besides that they do not contain like a lot of very valuable cards. However, Twilight Masquerade is still pretty cheap at this moment, while Lost Origin is already really expensive. So if Twilight Masquerade would increase in value, the cards that are in the set would increase in value as well. And I think this Chansey is going to be one of them. Now the next card features Gengar, which is obviously a really popular Pokemon, but once again it's from a set that's a little less popular. Because number 6 is Morty's Conviction from Temporal Forces. Now even though this is already one of the most expensive cards from the set Temporal Forces, the card is going for around $42. And the reason why I chose this card is mostly because it features Gengar. There's so many people right now who are collecting every single Gengar card they can find, and because of that, the Gengar cards are just increasing in value like crazy. In general, everybody I know in the Pokemon TCG basically likes Gengar. So it's almost a rule of thumb at this point that if a card features Gengar and it's really difficult to pull, which for this card is going to be the case because it's a special illustration rare, 9 out of 10 times the card has great long-term potential. Now Temporal Forces is still pretty cheap at the time of recording this because ETBs are going for around $82, and because of that this Morty's Conviction card is going for around $42. But honestly, if this card would have been in Destined Rivals for example, I think it would be twice or 3 times as valuable as it currently is. So that's why I think this card is really undervalued. Okay, at this point we're moving on to the kind of cards which almost feel illegal for how cheap they are. Because number 5 is the Tapu Koko EX from Paradox Rift, and maybe I've put this on my list because I just genuinely love Tapu Koko, but this card is going for only $13 while it's a special illustration rare and it looks incredible in my opinion. Now again, it might play a factor that I just love Tapu Koko, but still, I think this card is incredibly undervalued. Once again, Paradox Rift is less valuable than for example Destined Rivals at 151. If these cards would have been featured in a more popular set, I think the card would be way more valuable. To be honest, it's just incredible to me that a card like this is only going for $13. And again, I think this is my favorite card on this list of today. It's still incredible how many cards are in the TCG that are incredibly undervalued and will probably increase in value like crazy crazy in the future. And if there's one thing I love to do in these hobbies is find these cards, especially if they're beautiful cards, and then just buy them for my collection and see them increase in value. There's so many incredible opportunities in the current market to make profit with Pokemon cards without any scalping or any bullshit like that. And for the past couple of months, it kind of has become my goal to combine the collecting side from Pokemon with making profit. Because if you're just purely a collector, that's amazing, but I think you're missing out on an amazing opportunity. But if you're only focused on making profit, I think the joy kind of goes away from the hobby. So if you can combine collecting with making profit, I think you have the genuine sweet spot. And that's exactly what I teach you to do in my Pokemon card community. In the Pika Academy, we help you to grow your collection by buying and reselling Pokemon cards. Because a lot of Pokemon cards, especially the cards we all dream about, are just really expensive at this point. So with the profit that you can make, you can buy the cards that you always dreamed of buying. By the way, that's exactly what I've done with my whole collection, which is standing right behind me. So if you want to scale your Pokemon collection to the next level, check out the Pika Academy with the link in the description, and then I'll see you in the community. Number 5 is also just a card that's illegally undervalued. Because the Charizard from Obsidian Flames is the most expensive card from the set, looks absolutely amazing in my opinion, but is incredibly undervalued. The card is currently going for only $58, which just completely blows my mind. I agree that Obsidian Flames is not one of the best cards from the Scarlet and Violet era, but on the other hand, I think this card is still really good. I genuinely think that this card can increase to $100 per card, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's happening very soon. Now, number 3 is finally the first promo card of this list. This card is an illustration rare and doesn't get featured by ETBs, but by a collection box. And maybe you can already guess what card it is, but number 3 is going to be the Victini illustration rare promo card. Currently, this card is going for only $7, but it's still a really good illustration rare in my opinion. This card has only been released a couple of months ago, and I think because of that, supply is still really high. But as soon as Pokemon stops printing this box, I think the value is going to increase like crazy. I also think that this card should at least be worth more than $10, and I think that's easily going to happen in the near future. Now we're moving on to the last 2 cards, which are so undervalued that it feels absolutely really illegal. Number 2 is going to be the Magneton ETB promo from Surging Sparks. This card is going for only $5 at this point. And besides the fact that I think Surging Sparks in general is just a pretty undervalued set, which I of course already said in the beginning of this video for the Gold Pikachu, but it really just blows my mind that this card is only $5. I have a different promo card for you, which is going to blow your mind. Because I generally do not understand how this Tornadus card from the White Flare ETB is going for less than $1 a piece. This is currently the cheapest Elite Trainer Box promo that you can buy. I definitely think this card can at least move to $2, $3, or $4 in the near future, and I don't think you can get it for less than $1 a piece for a very long time. Now again, if you want to shift your Pokemon collection to the next level, make sure to check the Pika Academy with the link in the description. By the way, I forgot to mention that there are also a lot of sealed products which you can buy for less than $100, which are also really undervalued. And there are also a couple of cards that I didn't cover in this video that you can buy with this budget. So make sure to watch this video next where I cover the best Pokemon cards to buy with a $100 budget. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in this video.